first, yes, for those who may not know, I'm the uncle of Oscar Grant, young man killed at the Fruitvale BART station on January 1st, 2009, especially when Taser International was really getting started. So how? Oscar is my baby sister's son, Wanda, and she definitely sends her greetings to the family. Her condolences as well as from me, myself. In 2015, AB 71 came into existence, which is the use of force data collection. If you're unfamiliar about this data collection, it talks about the type of abuse that civilians go through when they encounter the police here in the state of California. So the data of what we're talking about tells us what we're saying is true. You can go Google this data yourself, Open Justice, Department of Justice of California. Of course, in 2016, we had AB 953, which is a Racial Identification Profiling Act. Because the question was, what happens when a young man is stopped, and what is his chance of surviving that stop? And so AB 953, Racial Identification Profiling Act, is data that has been collected to help us identify how we are dying in these streets from simple tail-light situations or questionable crisis that I might be in. And then just this year, we had AB 748 audio video released within 45 days. In addition to that, SB 1421, which is the right to know. And as you know, just recently in Burlingame, if you've been following the news about 1421, we can see how important this DA needs to file these charges against that sexual predator that they let off.
District Attorney Wagstaff is not filing charges.
Right. And so I'm bringing this up because we have identified a person that we can also campaign against enforcing these issues of filing charges against these rogue police officers that do this unnecessary killing. Now, what happened in the last 6 months with these 3 young men, we don't know how many of them actually have tased other people. So we have to do public records requests to get the details of their history and whether they have been disciplined or not. And just recently, we have data, we have transparency. I was just in Sacramento with Dr. Weber, San Diego Assemblywoman, who has championed our bill 932, which is Save Our Lives, dealing with accountability and criminality. So it's important that we, as a community, understand this legislation and be very supportive in the ways that we can to make sure that we get this passed. Because as we know, the police union is going to fight like hell to not have no piece of legislation passed that makes common sense. All we're talking about is saving lives. That's all we're talking about. If we had addressed this 10 years ago, these 3 young men could be living today.
Right.
As you know, Johannes basically claimed he was going to use his taser, but a taser wasn't even necessary, but he made a mistake and used his weapon and shot Oscar in the back and killed him. So I stand here in support of all the young men that has been killed. I am extremely elated and glad to see all of you out here, especially the raging Grannies.
Thank you.
Sharing their song. This is powerful. This is a game changer. Seeing you across the state of California speaking to this issue, the residents of the state of California will become extremely involved because you are involved. You're not silent about this issue. So we can bring a change. It was a community that embraced us, loved us, stood with us, cried with us, went back and forth to court with us, but most importantly, utilized the First Amendment right to speak to the injustice. And we got, for the first time in California state history, an officer arrested, charged, convicted, and sent to jail. We don't count it as a victory because 15,000 more has died since that happened. But we are clear that as we continue to build this movement and speak on this issue concerning tasers and excessive force, we will win. We will win.
Prosecute.
That's right.
Prosecute.
Prosecute. Prosecute.
Prosecute.
Prosecute. Prosecute. Prosecute. Prosecute. Prosecute. Prosecute. Prosecute. So thank you to all of you being out here, and to the family again, our condolences to you. we'll stand with you and do what we can to make this an accountable issue. Thank you.
Thank you.